mother had me at 16. She was a drug addict. My father took off before I was even born. I've been arrested over 20 times. Growing up, I was in and out of foster homes, group homes, juvenile detention centers, and jail cells. Got in a lot of trouble, was exposed to a lot of adversity early on. Because I've been through a lot, man. I've been through things that would make people, if I described it in vivid detail, it would make a normal person sick to their stomachs. Unfortunately, when something really bad happens, other really bad things are probably going to happen in conjunction with it. What you do in those situations not only determines where you go, but it dictates who you become. Yeah. Adversity builds character. The reality is the worst things that have ever happened to you are actually the best things that have ever happened to you.
How did you get your mind to think outside of the box from the situations you've been in and out of foster home, being arrested multiple times? How can one get their mind out of that box and that hell?
The truth is, making sure you're surrounding yourself with people who are driven, people who are ambitious, people who are hungry, people who push you to be better, people who want to win, people who want to see you win, so we can elevate our frequency. It's like a cheat code. Put ourselves in the best possible position to succeed. Put ourselves in the best possible position to win. Because the shit is hard. The journey is hard enough. There are people that are going to be put into your life at different chapters whose sole purpose is to remind you acutely of what happens if you don't evolve. So look, whatever you're doing right now, aim to be the best at it, not because you love what you're doing, but because your last name is attached to it.
Welcome to another episode of The Mind of a CEO. As your host with the most, Andres Iwanagbe. First of all, like, subscribe, send this, you get the point. Send this to everybody. Today's podcast, I am so pumped about. I can't believe we managed to get this guest today. A few years back, I was trying to elevate my mindset. I was trying to find a mentor in the internet space that I could lean my business towards and be more like. And when I came across his content, I was so inspired. His story is a true testament of rags to riches, going through adversity. He's a driven individual. He's a motivator, and he's the owner of Nutrition Solutions. Guys, let's welcome Chris Cavallini. Hey, brother.
Hey, man, that was great. Thank you so much for the warm intro. It's good to be here. And honestly, I don't know what the topic of today's podcast is going to be. I look forward to the conversation, but I think the way this kind of all materialized should be highlighted, because you walked up to me in the gym, was getting a workout in. We've never met before. Introduced yourself. We had a short conversation. You went, finish your workout. I went to do my workout. Then later you just approached me and you just took a shot. You just took a shot. Hey, what are the chances of you coming on my podcast while you're in town? And I just really liked your energy. I liked your demeanor. You were very respectful. You had some very flattering things to say earlier in the conversation. So I told you, I was like, look, if I could do it, I'll do it. I give you my word on that. And here we are. And if there's a lesson to be taken out of that, it's the fact that you will miss 100% of the shots that you do not take. You took a shot. Here we are. So
wow, already dropping gems, and I appreciate those kind words. It was a genuine moment for me. I was
me
excited.
Too, man.
I was like, this gotta be meant to be. This is from the Lord. For the audience that don't know you, okay, could you tell us a little bit of your upbringing and all of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Chris Cavallini. Like you said, I'm the CEO and founder of a company called Nutrition Solutions. We're a healthy meal delivery service in the US. We service all 50 states. We like to consider ourselves the Louis Vuitton of meal prep, if you will. But I had a rather unorthodox upbringing in childhood. My story was, one you kind of describe a lot of adversity, right? If I was to sum it up, it would be one of trials, tribulations, and overcoming adversity. My mother had me at 16. She was a drug addict. My father took off before I was even born. I've been arrested over 20 times. Growing up, I was in and out of foster homes, group homes, juvenile detention centers, and jail cells. Got in a lot of trouble, was exposed to a lot of adversity early on. I was very lucky in that regard. Obviously, unbeknownst to myself at the time, that adversity and that hardship and going through the struggle that I did very early on was actually equipping me with tools and a mentality that would allow me to go on to do things with my life that are considered to be statistically impossible. I'm a multimillionaire. Our company is in a rapid, explosive growth phase and has been for the last year and a half. Things are good. I have an awesome life. I have an amazing team. I'm surrounded by people who love me and respect me and help me win. So I'm in a great position, in life, but I wouldn't be in the position that I'm in today if not for all of the failures and setbacks that, I've endured during the 4 decades I've been on this planet.
I like the way you just cruise through that. Like that's every day. That is such a.
So I want to just sorry to interrupt you.
No.
I want to make this about your audience. We could, spend an hour and a half talking about my life story.
Yeah.
And I've done that at length, and there's no shortage of interviews on the internet of that. I want to give that Cliff Note kind of high level version for your audience. But
yes,
I would love to spend our time just giving them gems, dropping just tangible, practical action steps that will help them bridge the gap from where they are to where they want to be. Because like I said, I literally started at the bottom. Everybody says they start at the bottom.
Yes.
And from a figurative standpoint, that's often true. But I literally started at the bottom and I worked my way up. So I have experience at all different stages of the game. And that has put me in a very unique position to elevate people. And that's kind of like, what I do. That's what I would say, my life's purpose is to elevate people. My message is predominantly toward men. However, obviously, women can certainly extrapolate certain lessons and what have you. But I tell the truth. I say it in a way that, might not be super comfortable for some to hear. If people are offended, triggered at any point of this discussion, I would urge you just to take a moment and reflect on the fact that although you are offended, it does not make what I'm saying any less true. That said, man.
Wow. I think the main point is, because there's a lot of people that have gone through things like that, right? I want to know what made it different for you. How did you get your mind to think outside of the box from the situations you've been in and out of foster home, being arrested multiple times? How can one get their mind out of that box and that hell?
So it wasn't one thing, it was a series of things, and it took a long time to actually materialize. Now, it took a long time to materialize because I wasn't being intentional about it initially. But when I started being intentional, that's when everything started to change, and it started to change quick. And we'll get to that momentarily. As I mentioned, I've been arrested close to 25 times, but I was arrested 17 times before my 18th birthday. So I was getting arrested a lot in high school. The state of Massachusetts, where I grew up, my senior year gave me an ultimatum that I could either go to jail or join the military. So naturally, I decided to join the military, and everybody always asks me about my service, and I would love to sit here and tell you that just from a very early age, as a young boy, it was a dream of mine to honorably serve my country, and that wasn't the case. Although, the military not only changed my life, but an argument can certainly be made that it saved it. Wow. The military did so many things for me. It taught me discipline. It taught me the importance of standards. It taught me the importance of having a mission, of being around other, like-minded, driven men who want to win. It taught me the importance of teamwork and how to operate within a team. It taught me so many amazing qualities from a leadership perspective that I still deploy with my company and my team to this day. The most valuable thing the military did for me, and this is going to partly answer the question that you asked, I didn't even realize until I was no longer in the military. Joining the military got me out of my hometown, and it got me out of the environment that was making me sick. It got me away from the people that I was spending my time with. I was a fuck up. Look, when you're getting arrested that much, clearly I had behavioral issues. I wasn't, my mind was sick. And make no mistake about it, I say, got me out of the environment, got me away from these people. I was the worst amongst my peer group. I just want to make that very clear. I'm not blaming anybody. Ultimately, though, it is our surroundings, our environment, and what we give our attention to that influence how we think. It dictate our mindset, determine our standards, and ultimately, like the direction of our lives. So that was a massive variable in and of itself as far as helping me begin the process of transformation from a mentality standpoint. Now, I served my country honorably for 5 years. I was a Navy deep sea diver. I was in an amazing community. I was very, very fortunate to get the shot to go to dive school. I scored well enough on my ASVAB exam to be able to go to school. And at the time, and still currently to this day, there's about a 70% attrition rate. So 70% of the people who start that process and start that training do not make it through. Wow. It's difficult in a variety of capacities, physically, mentally, academically. Some people are just not comfortable underwater. So there's a lot of different ways that they kind of flush you out, but ultimately the entire process is determined to see who is capable of thriving in high pressure situations. So I was in a community where I was around a lot of just driven, disciplined men. And I was from the time I checked into my team after I graduated dive school till the time I left, I was always the youngest on the team. So I was just like a sponge. And these guys, you know, they kind of saw me for who I was, and I hadn't done anything to that point. So they kind of, you know, some of these guys big brothered me and helped kind of show me the path, helped show me the way, like, you know, put their foot in my ass when it was needed. And if I'm being completely honest, it was needed quite frequently back then. But I was in an amazing community. I had a mission, a purpose. I was very proud to be a Navy deep sea diver, still one of the most significant accomplishments of my life to this day.
Oh yeah.
Decided to get out after 5 years. And this is when that benefit that I just described to you as far as getting out of the environment, this is when that kind of came full circle. Because when you get out of the military after 5 years and you're me, you go basically from having all of the structure in the world. That's why the military is our military is the most powerful military in the world, because the systems, the process, everything is just so structured, and it's perfect because it's very little thinking, you know, what to wear, where to be, when to be there. You have a mission, you have a purpose, you know, you're surrounded by a team of other people. You watch their back, they watch yours.
Yeah.
I went from having that for 5 years to having none of that basically overnight. So you lose all the structure. And this is not even anything that I really thought about or considered. But then I started to quickly realize that, I started to regress, found myself within 4 or 5 months of getting out of the military, I'm now working in a strip club. And, you know, I'm in a degenerate atmosphere around a bunch of degenerates, drunks, you know, the girls, drama. And I just had a painful realization. It's like, holy shit, I just got out of an elite unit in the military, and here I am in this environment, drinking at work to make it a little funner, messing with the girls, constant drama, getting in fights with the customers because I was still very insecure. And if I said it was time to leave and you looked at me sideways, I took that very personally because my ego was just completely out of control.
The environment too.
Totally. So that was kind of, you know, a wake up call that helped me realize that, all right, the best version of me clearly is not going to be here, but the best version of me is going to ultimately be dictated by my environment. And making a long story short, I decided after, I don't know, about 2 years of faithful service in the strip club industry that it wasn't for me anymore. And I quit and subsequently became a drug dealer. And this is a part of my story I want to make sure I don't skip in case anybody looks me up online, like, oh, this guy's a drug dealer. I was a drug dealer for many years. In fact, most of my 20s, I sold anabolic steroids, and I make no excuse for it. It's not something I'm necessarily proud of, but I wouldn't change a thing. I learned some valuable lessons, went through a certain process. Obviously, you know, ordinarily drug dealers hang out with other drug dealers. I was no exception. Had a bunch of drug dealer friends. They were selling other things, you know, cocaine, ecstasy, you know, more kind of hardcore, addictive drugs, which the reason I point that out is not to minimize what I was doing, but they were more likely to have contact with law enforcement. And they did. And people in my peer group started to go down and get sent to prison. And they all started snitching on each other. And that was actually, believe it or not, it was really shocking to me because, you know, the community that I was in, the nickname of our community was Men of Honor. They actually made a movie, Men of Honor, with Robert De Niro and Cuba Gooding Jr. about Navy divers called Men of Honor. So I just assumed that, you know, with a group of homies, you guys are going to have each other's back.
Yeah.
On the streets, you're going to have each other's back during the worst of times. And that wasn't the case in this environment, in this culture, if you will. And people might hear that, like, oh, drug dealers, you know, what the reality is in most organized crime, and if you're a drug dealer, hang around with other drug dealers, an argument can be made that that's organized crime.
Yeah.
There is some type of code, some degree of honor and certain non-negotiables, but that didn't exist in this community. And it really didn't sit well with me that I'm now associated with this group of people who clearly are not willing to take responsibility. They're not willing to be a man. They're not willing to take ownership, and they have no issue, obviously, destroying somebody else's life and destroying somebody's family's life because they weren't man enough to be held accountable for their own actions. So
yeah,
that was the, that was really the moment of clarity that I needed to make the determination that I needed to figure out how I could get out of this dynamic and start doing something with my life that I could actually be proud of.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately, what led me to the two biggest things that helped me transform my mindset, which was, getting around shitty people,
okay,
and going all in on my personal development. I needed to reprogram my brain, my mind. I had a victim mindset, man. Never met my dad, but I had all this animosity, had daddy issues. Mm-hmm. How is that even possible that somebody who's never met their father could go 25 plus claim daddy issues? Explain that to me, if you could.
I can't explain it.
Right, because it's a decision we make to use an excuse, to hang our hat on, to justify being mediocre, to justify living a shitty, uninspiring life that is motivating to no one. That's what people do. That's what I was doing. And I, of course, was not aware of this fact until I went on my personal development journey. But I went to somebody and I said, look, this was somebody I respected, somebody who was successful, somebody I had access to. And I just told them, like, I feel as if I was put on this planet to do something other than what I'm doing. And like, I can't do this anymore. I'm stressed all the time, constant anxiety. You go to bed at night, like, is this the night that they kick in my door? Like, I knew they were watching me because all my friends got sent to prison or got in trouble, and I just knew it was a matter of time. So I didn't ask for any handouts, but I asked for direction. And he told me, he's like, look, you need to start hanging around people who are better than you. He's like, all your friends are fucking losers, they're going nowhere. They're going to drag you right there with you. And he said, you need to start spending every waking moment you have reading books and working on your personal development. He's like, you need to fix your mindset. You don't think right. I've been sitting here listening to you. My mother this, my father that, your child did this, that, and the other thing. What the hell does that have to do with anything right now? And that was very triggering. Yeah. Because I've been through a lot, man. I've been through things that would make people, if I described it in vivid detail, it would make a normal person sick to their stomach. So like being confronted with that information in that capacity for the first time was like, it was like a punch in the gut. But everything he was saying was true because it doesn't make a difference. But I was using it as a crutch. I was using it to justify, my place in the middle. And he's like, you got to fix your thinking. And the only way you're going to do that is by like reading these books. And he gave me a Tony Robbins disc set. This is probably like 2009, right? Back before podcasts were blowing up and there was all the available resources that there are now. He gave me this disc set and I started reading all Tony's books and I started watching everything Tony had on YouTube. And then I went on a like personal development journey of biblical proportion. I read over 1,000 books and I legitimately recalibrated my mindset. I started to, through these pages of these books, I'm learning about like why I behave, think, and just kind of express myself in the way that I do. And it was quite embarrassing, like looking at it, like looking at yourself outside of the box. So I started to recalibrate my mind and not only read these books, but I would obviously take action on the principles that I was learning. And it started with something very normal, something that I learned in the military and did at a consistently high level for 5 years. When I got out, stopped doing for whatever reason, and that's making my bed. Started making my bed and keeping organizing my house, keeping my vehicle clean, the inside of my vehicle, then the exterior, making sure I didn't have dirty dishes piled up in the sink. Like being in control of my environment, because being organized is being in control, and then you're a little more confident, you get a little more energy. And then I started to just like reinvest that new energy that I had and just kept building. And, you know, ultimately an opportunity presented itself. And
I got a question.
Yeah,
Sorry
please.
for cutting you off, but that's an interesting point though, because in the movie Limitless, when Bradley Cooper took the pill, first thing he did was clean his apartment. But I'm just saying this because there are going to be people watching this, and this show is about the audience learning something. And
Totally.
I love your story, and I love the gems
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
dropping. What would you say to somebody that would say, I know a lot of very successful people that are slops. They're like very sloppy, dirty house, dirty car, but they're still successful. Do you need to have that control of your environment? Does that mean that would guarantee success? Or is that, you know what I'm trying to say? What would you say about that?
what would I honestly say?
Yeah, please.
That I don't believe that to be true. I mean, sure, there's always the outlier. There's always, you know, somebody who's fat and disorganized and successful. But at the end of the day, like if you are a billionaire and you weigh 350 pounds, from my perspective, you're not successful.
Yeah.
For many reasons. First and foremost, okay, you wake up every single day to a reflection that you're not proud of. Okay. And then secondly, obviously, if you have that much money, you most likely have a woman in your life, or multiple women, probably one woman, who's really kind of sucking it up every time she has to, you know, lay down with you. Like she ain't enjoying the sex. Let's be honest, she ain't enjoying the sex. So like, in my opinion, from my perspective, from somebody who has money, I don't have
If you are that guy, don't come for me. Chris is the one with the money.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I think everybody just equates success with a number in the bank account. And that's not necessarily how I determine success. I think it's many things.
How do you determine success?
So for me personally, because I don't think I can't determine success for you or the camera crew. I can only determine success for me, and, you know, just recommend certain things people can do to strongly increase the probability of them becoming successful with whatever they're looking to be successful at.
Yeah.
Like healthy, strong, skilled, competent, capable. And the thing is, yeah, you will have money because having money is just a consequence of capability. So yeah, you got to be healthy, strong, capable, skilled. And like, I think also, like how are you making the world better? Because at the end of the day, if, you know, you're not positively contributing to society in a meaningful way, I really don't think that it matters much. You're not getting the most out of the human experience. But the truth is, the most successful people I know, and I know a lot of them, they're all doing that. Like I personally cannot tell you one legitimately successful person that I go over to their place and it's a disaster and it's just, you know, disorderly and there's shit everywhere. That's just not, and I can explain why that is. So we're all at a different frequency. Some are at very high frequencies, some are at extremely low frequencies. Now, the thing about low frequency people, the thing about people with the victim mindset, the people with the fixed mindset, they're not aware that they're operating from a low level of consciousness, existing at a low frequency, that they have a victim mindset. Listen, I was one of those people for many years. So like, we all operate from a different frequency, and the higher we want to go in life, the further we want to go in life, the more we're going to have to evolve. And when we evolve, that means we're going to raise our frequency. So when you walk into a room and it is trash, disorganized, smells bad, there's just shit everywhere. Like, you know, it's dirty, it's gross. How do you feel in that environment?
Not good at all.
You don't feel good at all, right? We can just simplify it and just leave it at that. But if you go into an environment and it's clean and it's immaculate, there's not a single thing out of place. It smells good.
Yes.
You like it's like, how are you feeling in that space? So if how we act and what we do is determined and predicated largely by how we feel, setting our environments up to help us become and be and exist as the best version of ourselves is a very low-hanging fruit opportunity that anybody can take to start getting the trending in the right direction. And then once you actually start doing it, then it becomes an obsession because you gain an awareness of how much better things could be.
I find this interview so wild because like when you say you're in the club scene and all of that and you're trying to change your life, you started reading all these books.
I was out 7 nights a week for many years. I want to make it very clear. I wasn't like just like out in the club once in a while. Okay, this was when I was a dealer. I didn't have a regular job. That was my job, and my marketing strategy was, I was making a lot of cash, so I had cash. I'd go out to the club. I always have chicks with me, of course. When you have table and decent looking, in shape human, not very difficult to procure the chicks. We'd get table, get the bottle service, be me, maybe one other guy, and a bunch of chicks. And the way that I justified this and made sense of it, outside of the fact it was just really fun, was when I was there, like I'm meeting new potential clients, right? Because who's gonna come up and want to like kind of see what's going on with the guy who's in shape with a bunch of girls, clearly has some money. So like they're coming up to me and I'm meeting new people, and they ultimately ask me like, so what do you do? And at that point, like I wasn't discreet about it at all. So, I would let them know, and that's how that was basically like my lead funnel.
That was wild, man. You said your mentor, like he told you, you respected him. He told you, and it was a gut.
Yeah.
The
truth hurts.
It does. And I've felt that before, and it sucked. How did you get yourself to accept that awareness and then move into action? Because I think that's a very important piece of the puzzle right there.
It is. For me at that point, I became very obsessed with the thought and the idea and the visual of what my life would look like if I didn't change. I started to think long and deliberate about the future. And, it wasn't the thought of prison. I mean, that was a certainty at that point if I didn't change my course. It wasn't the thought of prison that, scared me straight. It was more the thought of going back to being no longer in control of my life, being looked down upon the way that I felt most of my childhood. I didn't want to go back to being in that position, to being, the kid always has problems, always looked down upon. And whether that was the case or not, that's how I felt. So I wanted to make sure that I was actually doing everything that was in my power with what I had to work with to sort it out. So when he told me, what to do, I did it. I was ready for change. Look, you asked about success and how I define success.
Yeah.
I think a huge barometer of success is how you feel when you're alone with your own thoughts. Like, are you proud? Are you proud? That's a very basic, like entry level way to evaluate whether or not like you are successful. If you're not proud of what you're doing, if you're not proud of your body, if you're not proud of your bank account, if you're not proud of your relationship, if you're not proud of your level of competence, capability, and value that you bring to the workplace, the world, or the community, as it were, you got to. It's as simple as that. Like, men were not put on this planet to be useless and unskilled and just kind of drain resources. We're put on this planet to make things happen and to ultimately leave the world and leave the people we come into contact with a little better than we found them.
Yeah, I was, as you're speaking, I was reflecting also on your story and how there were many levels of clarity that took place, right? The first one was when you were a teen, and then you got into the military when they gave you the ultimatum. And then the second one was when you were trying to leave that life behind, right? And some people might be in different stages right now. Just know you got to keep pushing forward and check out your surroundings.
There's nothing more important than that. And so I often think when people, we all hear this, right? Like, don't hang around with losers, right? Everybody knows they shouldn't be hanging around with losers. And most people, they'll look around them and say, oh, well, these people aren't really losers. They're not like drug addicts. They're not like drug dealers. They're not criminals. They're not whatever, like the, really kind of aggressive definition of loser or perception of loser that people have. But if they're not winners, then they are, in fact, losers. And I don't say that to be mean. I say that to be literal, because we are a byproduct of the people that we spend the most time with. Everybody's heard you're the like sum of the 5 people. That shit is true. Take that one to the fucking bank. So if you're hanging around with a bunch of average motherfuckers that are doing a bunch of average shit, you're just around a bunch of normies. If you're around a bunch of fat people, okay, that is not serving you. That is not helping you. And as I said, whether it's keeping your house and your car or your workspace clean, neat, immaculate, and organized, or making sure you're surrounding yourself with people who are driven, people who are ambitious, people who are hungry, people who push you to be better, people who want to win, people who want to see you win. Like, we have to do as much as possible so we can elevate our frequency. It's like a cheat code.
Yep.
It's like put ourselves in the best possible position to succeed. Put ourselves in the best possible position to win, because the shit is hard. The journey is hard enough. You don't want to, waste time and energy trying to drag losers up the hill. And unfortunately, that's what so many people do, especially when they actually start changing and start seeing some results. They want to like take people with them, and they don't realize that personal growth is personal. Personal growth is personal. And if you're trying to bring everybody with you, trying to say, like, oh, well, I don't want to leave people behind. Ultimately, you have to make a decision, okay? You can continue to use loyalty as an excuse to justify being around losers, or you can let the process of growth take its organic course, and you will grow, and you will realize that losing people is a direct positive consequence of personal growth. When you're losing people and you're on a personal growth journey, you're getting real-time validation from the universe that like your course of action is correct. And like, this is very valuable feedback. It's extremely valuable feedback, because as you evolve and you transcend, the truth is most of the people who don't support you are the people who you think will support you at the beginning, right? Your friends, your family, the people you've known the longest. Super normal. Don't let it stress you out.
Okay.
You need that energy where you're going. Like, I don't understand why we're wasting it on things that don't matter. Your journey is uniquely your own. And, not everybody that you start with is going to be there when you finish. You're going to lose a lot of people along the way. And the truth is, there are people that are going to be put into your life at different chapters whose sole purpose is to remind you acutely of what happens if you don't evolve. So be grateful for all of it. When you lose people, good. Thank you to the universe, and then double down, triple down on whatever you're doing, and don't look back. We ain't going that way.
Don't look back. What would you say to that entrepreneur right now that's out there? They've started their progress. They're seeing the universe giving them sign. God is giving them sign like, hey, this person right here, they're not all the way in the same frequency you're at. How do they go about that situation?
Yeah.
You talked about loyalty, right? Because they come from that background of, I gotta be loyal. We all gotta go up, right? What would you say? What's the best way of handling it? I know you're straightforward with it. But
Yeah. So I'm going to give you the answer, but nobody's going to do it the first time. I didn't do it the first time. When it happens initially, it doesn't make sense. And your gut reaction, your natural instinct is to want to like explain to them like what it is that you're doing and why you want to really help them see that, like, no, I'm not trying to change because I think I'm better than you. But no, that's exactly what you're doing, by the way. But you want to try to explain and justify because you want them to clap for you, you want them to support. And that's bullshit. Nobody's going to clap for you until you deserve that shit, by the way. And I'll add to that. Nobody's going to clap for you, especially the people that know you, until they like see other people clapping. So like, the best thing that you can do is not have your feelings hurt, not let it drain your energy, not waste any time. If you feel that it's necessary to have a conversation with that person, addressing it, understand that they're not going to come out. And because look, their problem isn't even with you. That's probably the biggest thing. Their problem is when they look at you, they're reminded in real time of everything that they are not. And that can be very triggering to the ego of a normie. So you have to look at it like that. Although that energy is directed towards you and you feel it, they're moving different. Maybe you hear some things are being said behind your back, et cetera. Like, their problem is not really with you. So you just have to like recognize that is, you're not going to grow in any meaningful way. You're not going to go on a personal development journey and not lose people. Losing people is a fantastic thing. It honestly is. The reality of it is, what I would do, here's the answer. Okay, It just came to me, and I don't think this question is asked all the time. I don't think I've actually ever given this answer before, okay? When you actually are in a position where you start to realize that you're losing people and you're stressed out about it because this is like the beginning and you've never experienced it before, I want you to grab a piece of paper. I want you to draw a line down the middle of that paper. We're gonna have two lists, okay? One list is going to be all of the positive contributions that this individual that, you're getting you're just sensing different energy. They're talking behind your back, whatever, like that you're having a falling out with, all the positive contributions that they've made to your life since you've known them. And then in the other column is going to be the opposite. How are these people holding you back? What is it about them, about their, mentality that is not congruent with the version of you that we're trying to become here? And I want you just to make a list. And like at the end of it, you're going to notice that there's probably nothing in the positive contribution category, because a lot of times our friends are determined by people we have fun with earlier in life before we start even recognizing that, oh shit, you know what? Like I'm an adult now, I have real responsibilities and I'm still thinking like a child. So now I got to start doing all the things that I need to do to like change my circumstances and start building a life that I can actually be proud of and creating a life that other people can draw inspiration from. So like, that's the reality of it. Like they're fun to drink with. That doesn't belong on that piece of paper, right? They're fun to smoke weed with and watch the game. Also not applicable in this instance. And I think if you do that, I don't know, I feel like that should make it a lot easier to get over quickly. But the reality of it is you also have to remember your energy is valuable and it is finite. And the journey is so, like, look, if you're trying to do something meaningful, like it's going to be very difficult. And if you're trying to create a life that like, there's a very small percentage of people on the planet who are willing to make the necessary sacrifices to live an extraordinary life. Whether you're looking to do that or like even come some degree close to that, like you're going to, the amount of sacrifice that you're going to have to make is going to be extraordinary. And you need your energy. You need to save your energy. You need to like delegate, automate, outsource as much, like your brain should be, and your headspace should be protected at all costs, because there's going to be shit that pops up during the journey. You're going to be tested. There's going to be adversity. And that adversity is nothing more than the universe determining your worthiness, to ascend, whether or not you deserve to go to the next level. Ooh. And if all your energy is being spent wondering and trying to win this guy over, and like, that's less energy you have to navigate that adversity. So I don't think that's a good investment of your energy. Look forward and again, be grateful for it and recognize that it's a good thing.
Wow. I have a few questions.
And I know, by the way, it's a lot easier said than done. I do think that's important. I know it's easier said than done, especially in the beginning. And I hate that people have to experience betrayal. And, I definitely wasn't planning on saying this, but I've been betrayed a lot. I've had a lot of knives stuck in my back at various parts of my journey. And even recently, something happened from a business perspective. Who gives a shit? It's fucking part of it. You know what? Nobody's trying to fuck over a businessman, or nobody's trying to fuck over an individual who isn't winning. So nobody's trying to sue an individual who isn't winning. The first time I was sued, my company was sued, it was very stressful. It was unfamiliar waters. I'd never been in that situation, especially when it was something that was bullshit. It was, just like in the real world, you get have like a little fender bender. Yeah. And then somebody, their whole body, they're in a body cast, their neck, their back, all these things. Now, it wasn't the fact that I had a lawsuit. It was the fact that I knew that this individual, like, I knew it wasn't a legitimate thing. So like I had to wrap my mind around that. And then, you go through the process and you have attorneys and you have finance people. I tell you, like, look, and I'm sure you've heard the saying, sometimes it's cheaper to pay them to go away. You've heard that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's really nice. And it's a very easy thing to say. But when you're in that actual position, man, it's just a weird thing for your brain to comprehend, to have to do. It's like, so I'm going to pay this lying piece of shit. Like it's hard to understand. Yeah. But then after I got the next lawsuit and somebody at some point said to me, hey, ain't nobody trying to sue a broke loser. And I completely changed my perspective on it. And it's like, yeah, like things are going to happen. People are going to betray you. You're going to get stabbed in the back. You're going to get fucked over. You're going to go through really difficult times in life. And unfortunately, when something really bad happens, other really bad things are probably going to happen in conjunction with it. It's going to either happen all at once or not at all. But I will tell you, what you do in those situations not only determines where you go, but it dictates who you become. Because adversity, I believe, is necessary, is mandatory for the optimization of a man's character.
Yeah.
Adversity builds character. And if you're not comfortable in stressful situations, if you're not able to thrive when, adversity is at peak levels, everybody else is freaking out, running away, hitting the panic button, looking for someone to hide behind, you need to be the one who's, willing, able to step up and lead and take charge in those situations because you're comfortable. You've been there before, right? You've been there before because the shit is hard, man. If it wasn't hard, then everybody would be millionaires walking around with a six pack, just crushing it at life.
Yeah.
So I think largely, if there was a takeaway with this kind of little impromptu off the cuff speech, it would be the fact that you need to get yourself ready for those worst case situations by making sure you're as strong and mentally capable as possible. Hard trainings, ice plunge. You guys are in Canada here. This is the first time I've been able to take a proper cold shower in years. I live in Florida where the heat, the weather, the water does not get that cold. I have a cold plunge in my house. I do a 37-degree cold plunge every morning, and it sucks and it's hard every morning, but it keeps me sharp. It sets the tone for the day. I want to start my day doing something that I don't want to do, something that's uncomfortable, something that not only wakes me up and puts me in a great mood, but also gives me a mental win for the day. Gives me a little microdose of adversity. So when the real adversity, when the macro dose of adversity pops off and shows up,
you're ready.
I'm ready. And look, and this is coming from somebody, I do that, all that shit. And I'm someone who's been through more adversity than most the average 1,000 people combined. And I still do all this shit because I want to keep my sword sharp.
Wow. Do you saying all of this? I had this question, but this one came to my mind. Okay. Do you still get nervous when crazy stuff like that happens? You're getting lawsuit. Are you still oh, I could lose it all? Do you ever get that feeling sometimes?
Never. Not only do I, so it doesn't necessarily, I'm not saying I feel good about it. It's never I get an email. I don't want to act like I'm getting sued all the time and have this be taken out of context. But anytime something bad happens, because I've been through so much. Yeah. I have such a positive association with the process. So much, in fact, that one of our core values at Nutrition Solutions is celebrate adversity. Now, that wasn't one of the OG core values. That was the only core value that we went back in about 18 months after the original core values inception, we went and added that in there. And the reason was because I had been through so many just catastrophic situations that I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess this is it. It was a good run, but there's no way we come back from this one. And even though I thought that, I didn't concede. I didn't just sit back and just let life stomp all over me. I fought, I dug in. That's just my nature. I couldn't imagine just, sitting back and not doing everything in my power to, just at least, look, if you're in a situation and you can't win, then you have nothing to lose. So the worst case scenario is you don't win, but at least you have the reputation of somebody who fought hard to the end. Yes. And I've always had that mentality. And after I went through these situations and not only got through it and the situation didn't just correct itself. I found myself pretty shortly after in a new place, in a higher place that I'd never been to before. So I started developing this very positive association with adversity and going through periods of adversity. Then I started to look back and analyze my life and think about some of the worst things that have ever happened to me. And I'm like, holy the reality is the worst things that have ever happened to you are actually the best things that have ever happened to you. Yeah. Provided you take those lessons and you apply them moving forward. That's the most important thing. Wisdom, you don't get wisdom from adversity unless you take responsibility, first of all, because whatever adversity is, it's your fault. Yeah. You put yourself there. It's either something you did or failed to do. You didn't have an uncomfortable conversation. You ignored the red flags. You weren't up on things. Whatever it is, if you want to win at the highest level, we could have just started this podcast and just said this one thing and just shut it off. If you want to win at the highest level, you have to make everything your fault. People don't like to hear that.
You have to make everything.
You have to make everything your fault. Everything, the good, the bad, everything that happens to fall in between. Look, you may not have caused it per se, but if it's touching your life, it is impacting your life, you have to make it your responsibility. You hear that, people hear that. They have a very kind of counterintuitive perspective, a negative association with responsibility. They think, oh, it's more more pressure, more difficulty, more weight, and all this. But being responsible just means you are response-able. It means that regardless, response-able in any situation, you
I like that.
are able to step up and do whatever needs to be done to conquer that situation. Again, life is not always going to go as planned. Plan for that, right? And everybody knows that there's like, everybody that's listening to this has been through something hard. Maybe there's people who's going through something hard right now. If you do not take responsibility over everything, then you are not response-able. You make yourself a victim, and you cannot win. You can't even be happy from a place of victimization. No. Everything is your fault. A lot of people don't like to hear it. No woman likes to hear that, really. But with men, you know, it's you just got to make a decision. Do you want to be a winner or do you want to be a loser? Okay, there's not a single winner on this fucking planet of 8 billion that has not taken responsibility over their entire life.
Wow.
If you're not responsible over your life, you're basically you're outsourcing control and power over your circumstances, over your path, over who you become. And you got one time to do this, by the way. I just don't think that's a wise strategy if you want to be remembered as somebody who actually made an impact on this planet in the time that they were on it.
Wow. You talked about you didn't start seeing success until you started moving with intent, being more intentional. How does that look like? Because I've heard that before and I tested it and it works, and I've been moving since I got that feedback, right? Yeah. So could you explain to the audience, how does one move with intent?
Yeah. So I'm going to give you an example from maybe 12 years ago.
Okay.
Because there's so many different iterations of this, but this one I think will help answer the question. Because it's a complicated question, but the reality of it is, if you're not where you want to be in any area, whether you're not making the money you want to make, you don't have the body that you want, you don't have the relationship, whatever like we're talking about here, right? If you're not where you want to be, then you have to take a different course of action than the one that you took to get you where you're at, right? Very simple, basic. About 12 years ago, I remember I was walking in an outdoor shopping center. I was in Jacksonville, Florida, and I ran into somebody. I walked into where I was walking one direction. He was walking another. It's a guy I knew, and he's like, "Hey man, what's going on?" I was like, "Hey, what's up, brother? How you doing?" And he's like, "Why do you look pissed off all the time? Like, you always look so angry, like you're about to go kill somebody." And I was like, "Oh no, I'm good." I was just like deep in thought, whatever, and but I really started to kind of reflect and analyze that statement as well as the behavior in general. And I started to kind of look at it from a different perspective that wasn't my own. And I'm like, damn, like I can definitely see how people would think that, because if I am, regardless if I'm pissed off or not, if I look like I'm pissed off, guess what? The world thinks I'm this like angry person, and people are not. You don't attract positive circumstances if you're transmitting negative energy or even the perception of negative energy. So I realized that was something that was like an unconscious trait of mine, that like, you know, if I'm deep in thought, like I'm not conscious of my mannerisms. I'm not conscious of the expression on my face. I'm not conscious of my body language. So I was on a personal development journey, and I wanted to become the best version of me. I wanted to be somebody that people looked up to, respected, and drew inspiration from. And I'm like, well, that's fucking not gonna happen if everybody that looks at me from the outside thinks I'm just angry and pissed off all the time. So I started to be very intentional about my body language. I started to be very intentional about making sure that my facial expressions conveyed the vibe that I wanted people to perceive. And like, being intentional means like, it didn't happen naturally. It didn't happen naturally for a while. Nothing that you haven't done before happens naturally at first. You have to be intentional about it until it becomes a routine behavior, until it becomes instilled, and there's a neurological connection developed in your brain to where you don't have to invest any energy to do that thing. It's just something that happens. Now, this translates to literally everything, whether we're talking about cleaning up your diet, right? Being intentional with, like, everybody says that they want to eat better, right? And in this gym, look, everybody here is on it. This is an awesome gym. This is an outlier gym. You know, I love gyms like this because very rarely do you see a gym that has such a consistently high level demographic as far as I mean, the people, I mean, there's some like big motherfuckers in here, really good looking, in shape females. I love training in environments like this. Pushes me to push myself. But like, you know, the normal person who's in the gym looks like shit. They go to the gym, they've been in the gym for an extended, I mean, literally anybody who's hearing this can test this. The next time you're in your gym, just look around, okay? If you didn't see these people that are in the gym, most of them anyway, it would not be immediately obvious that they even worked out because their body doesn't appear to look the part. And that's always obviously a byproduct of poor nutrition or just no energy directed toward nutrition. So everybody says they want to eat better, right? But a lot of people have been doing certain things like the way that they've been doing them. So it's like they just go through the same routine and they you know, they watch what they eat. I don't even know what that means when people say it, but being intentional about you know, changing your diet or really optimizing your diet and giving your diet the energy that it needs so it can give you the, I mean, that's the whole thing. It's not just going to make you look better. When you fuel yourself properly, you're going to be gifted with the currency of life, which is more energy. And that's a huge part people don't consider, think about. But high performing people have a lot of energy and average people don't. Like, again, whatever we can do to get that energy up, to get that frequency up, that's what we want to do. But like, you got to change the pattern. Okay, what you're doing ain't working. So why would you continue to do it? I know you're not going to the gym 5 days a week so you can fucking look the same, still look like you don't work out, still have man tits and muffin tops. I know that is not the case. I know when you started the journey, you had an image in mind of what you wanted to look like. So like, in order to get there, we need to change our eating habits. So how do we do that? I'm sure your country has companies like mine that will do all the work for you, because if you don't know how to meal prep, if you don't understand macros, like, it can be very overwhelming. And then people, what they end up doing is they attempt to tackle it on their own. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They do it for a week or two. They're eating the same things. They get burnt out on that. They don't see the results they want. And then they deviate back to the drive-through or whatever they were doing before. So like, how do you break that pattern? How do you be intentional about making sure your nutrition is optimized? If you have a fridge full of high protein, nutrient dense meals, ready to go, ready to eat in 2 minutes at all times, like, you're basically bulletproofing your diet. So whether you do the meal prep on your own or hire a company to outsource and do the work for you, like, that's being intentional about changing your eating habits. Otherwise, you're just gonna keep, it's too much resistance. Ultimately, you just find yourself back in the same place. And this can be applied to a million different scenarios. Investing, automating investments, dedicated amount, automate it so you don't see it. Like, all these different examples, man, just comes down to the same foundation. You have to be intentional, and that requires you to first realize that what you're doing, it's not getting it done. What got you here won't get you there. So we got to change the strategy, and we have to do it in a way that lowers resistance and makes the process as seamless as possible.
And to be a testament of what you talked about, being intentional about your mannerism, that is actually why we're here today, because I saw you across the gym and you had a welcoming energy right off the gate. And that was not what I was expecting from what I see from social media. And I went up to you, you had a big smile. You're like, man, I appreciate you. So you have done that work over and you know this. But
Thank you for saying that.
I was just stamping that.
Honestly, as you were saying that, I'm like, oh. So when I'm in the gym, that's one of the times that I'm not, the thing is, I don't even have to be conscious of it anymore. It's just how I am. Right. And that's the thing though, like, anytime you do something new, it's going to be unnatural. It's going to feel unfamiliar. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be hard because it's unfamiliar, unnatural, and so on and so forth. But when you're doing something new and you feel that resistance and it's difficult and it's like, you know, it's just, you just feel just out of place. It's not because you're incapable. It's because you've never done it before. You have to be willing to do something bad before you do it good. Anybody who's ever been great at anything sucked in the beginning, 100% of the time. Anybody who's ever done anything great with their life, they sucked in the beginning. Nobody was born a prodigy. Nobody was born a natural. Nobody was born gifted. That's all bullshit. There's actually studies that have been done that have conclusively proven that you're not born a natural. High performance is a direct correlation of hours put in. Something called like the 10,000 hour rule. You know, the more hours you put in on something, the more competent you're going to get. And you can't just put in hours. You have to put in intentional hours. This is why you see so many
Intentional
people.
hours.
Think about it, man. This is why you see so many people in the gym that don't, like, they're in the gym all the time and they don't look, they're not advancing. They're not super, I mean, look, they don't look, when you think of like somebody who trains, that's not what you think of, because they hit a certain level and then they go on, they hit like what's called an okay plateau. I'm good here. And I'm just going to coast from this point. Now, if you ask them, it's like, is that what you want to do? Do you want to stay right where you are? Of course they would say no, but their behavior and their habits are just, this is where they want to be. This is comfortable. This is predictable. I can do this. Another good way to kind of understand the intentional hours put in is like we all type, right? Like we all type in some capacity on computers, on the phone, whatever. Let's use computers, for example. Like a lot of people type, and if putting in hours alone without intention was the, what moved the needle and what increased competency and what made you, more skilled than anything, all of us would be able to type like 200 words a minute, bro. But we're all still
That's a great example.
Because we're not trying to type faster. We're typing when we type. That's not practice. And if you're just showing up, and doing whatever you're doing, you're not going to get better. You get better during the time that is not in the office. That's not at the business. That's not, not in the gym, right? You get better with the decisions you're making with the food that you're putting in your body when, the other 23 hours of any given day. Wow. So it's about intentional hours put in, not just hours put in. If you're over there beating your chest, talking about how many hours you put in, like wearing a badge of honor, you're a loser. Nobody who's getting results, nobody who's performing at a high level is talking about hours. Now they're putting in a lot of hours, but hours don't matter. Results do.
Yes, results do. That reminds me of when I played football. I used to have this coach who would always yell, train like a pro. Train like a pro, and it's about being intentional in what we're doing in that day. Yeah. Because you could just lollygag the whole thing and get nothing out of it. But I want to get into...
And man, brother, that's what most people do through life. They lollygag their way through a week, lollygag their way through the month, lollygag their way through a year, and then at the end, they put it all together, and now they've lollygagged their way through their entire life. It's crazy.
I did that for a long time, man. When I had my first kid, and that was the big eye-opener, and that's when I came across a lot of your content. Oh, yes. And so I want to get into some tactical things because we've given a lot of mindset stuff, but there's still mindset stuff in here. So how do you cultivate self-belief in your abilities and your vision right now?
Me personally, or
you personally?
How do I think confidence is just a byproduct of keeping the promises that you make to yourself, doing what you say you're going to do. And when we're talking about like the level that I'm at, one thing that I like to do with my team, obviously we have goals that we set for the company, and to have an annual goal, you have to break that down into quarterly goals to ensure alignment is present and we're on track. And we have, various promotions throughout the year. And when I set a goal or when I set goals, I like to share them with all of my team. I want to put it out there. I want to put it on a pedestal and say, hey, this is, and I don't even really say this is the goal. I say, this is what we're going to do. This is what's happening. I like to say it like that. I like to give myself ultimate accountability, because if I just, created the goals and then kept it to myself, then if I feel like slacking, I don't feel like putting myself under that much pressure, I have nobody necessarily to answer to, but my word is everything to me. I told you at the beginning of this, like honor, like I have made a lot of, not so great decisions. I've done a lot of things in my life that I'm not proud of, but my word has always been something. Like there's nobody walking this planet who can say or would say that I fucked them over. There's nobody who could ever call my character. A lot of people, I'm sure, could say a lot of not so great things, but there's not anybody who could call my character into question. And I believe like your character is directly tied to your honor. Your honor is directly tied to your ability to follow through and keep your word. So how do I build confidence at this level? Is just stacking wins and realizing that if something doesn't go the way that you want it to, well, then you need to figure out a way to fortify that. Either you sort out whatever needs to be sorted out, go back into that situation, navigate it more intelligently, learn from the feedback. Or like, let's say you have something bad going on, which, that's going to happen in any business that's growing very quickly. If something bad is going on and it's not something that can be immediately fixed that day, it's okay, well, we're going to fix it. But where can we deploy like massive positive action to like elevate like that area, even if it's already good? Where can we deploy like that type of energy so we can get positive energy flowing in our favor to where it would offset that other energy? Because again, it's all about frequency. It's all about energy. And when things are going bad, the last thing that you want to do, and this is what most people do, unfortunately, is stop doing all the other things in your life that are going good and allow those to go to shit as well. Like if one area of life is going not the way that you want to, while you're actively sorting it out, you need to be applying a lot of pressure to the areas of your life that are going good. You need to just create this upward spiral of positive momentum and get the momentum working in your favor, because once momentum is created, it's very difficult, if not impossible, to stop.
Creating momentum. Now, do you use like, and I like how you said you set your goals. You say, this is what we're going to do, or this is what I'm going to do. And I've never heard that before. I think that's a very unique way of, and telling your team or your core group of people, do you use affirmations, visualization? I'm very curious because there's different methods, right? Self-talk to reinforce your goals.
Yes, but I think when people think visualization and self-talk, like the stigma that is cast around it when you read it in the pages of the books, it just makes it sound like this is kind of like weird, like unfamiliar. I'm in the mirror. I'm like, I don't do any of that shit.
Okay.
But what I do is I immerse myself in inspiration. I set my environment up to help facilitate whatever outcome that I'm looking for. So whether we're talking about like our company headquarters, whether talking about my home, I have the aesthetics uniquely designed to, like, for example, my company, there's a lot of bright colors, a lot of cool lighting.
Yeah.
So it's designed, by intention to elicit positive energy and to uplift you walk in the space, you just feel like a surge of energy. I want to inspire creativity and high levels of energy in my team, right? At the house, again, completely different concept. But this is something I learned a lot about 10 years ago. So I set my environment up the best way that I can in order to get the outcomes that I want. Now, what does that look like on a day-to-day level with my goals? Every day I write my goals down, and I write them down not in the way that I described to you, but I write them down, and I've been writing the same goals down for, over 10 years, and they've kind of evolved as I've gotten closer and set higher thresholds, but I write them down as if they've already happened. Like, I'll just tell you, the first one is my net worth is $250 million. That's what I write down every single day.
And you say my net
worth is 250. I act as if it's already the case. It is not, for anybody who's wondering.
I was like, you got to send me.
That's the thing. When I started, it was, my net worth is $10 million. And then when I crossed that threshold, then I upped it, and then I upped it. And that's, I think, the best way to do it. And even if I don't ever reach that, which I will, but I just have to say this, I guess, is a part of the lesson. Even if I don't reach that actual number and I happen to fall short, wherever I happen to fall short is still a hell of a lot further than where I would have landed had I not had a destination in mind. So yes, I visualize by writing the goals down as if they've already happened, and I try to see myself as that guy who's worth $250 million, what my life would look like, how I'd stand, what I'd be wearing. It's not really much different than, like, I try to do all those things now. I want to see it as it is, then I want to try to model it in the present so I can attract that reality to my current reality. As far as visualization is concerned, I just built my dream home about 7 months ago, and it's a black design interior, and this is something that I wanted for probably the last 8 or 9 years. That's when I realized, I saw one, I was like, that is amazing. So what I did for probably the last 5 years, I followed 2 or 3 different Instagram black design home Instagram pages, and I would look at it. I have watches that I look at, and if there's something I like, I'm looking at it before I go to bed, whether it's a house, whether it's a watch. That's how I visualize, and it has worked precisely 100% of the time. Woo. When I got the house, man, it was crazy because I hired an interior designer who turned out to be just a terrible person. She fucked me over for $30,000. But it was such a blessing because it gave me unlimited motivation. Because now I'm like, all right, now I have to make this house as epic as humanly possible so I can, like a child, throw it in her face subtly. And all I was going to do is just post a badass video and then tag her in it. So it's like, look, I did this. I'm not an interior designer. And I one of the best compliments that I get now routinely is people ask me who your interior designer was.
Wow.
And then I'm like, oh, I'll text you their number. And I text them my contact. Like it's a friend of mine, he's joking around.
Yeah.
But, that was all a byproduct. I was able to do that because for 5 or 6 years, I'm looking at all these and it's just ingraining in my brain. And then it just happened. And, there's a lot of power to exposing yourself and immersing yourself into what it is that you want or who it is that you want to become. Unfortunately, the opposite is also true, right? So if you're on social media, just following a bunch of jerk offs that really are just, they're just killing your brain cells. You're just scrolling, looking at dumb shit. If you're not using social media with intention, then it's going to program you, but in a different way. Like the whole idea, look, we're all getting programmed. Okay, there's no question. We would all like to think we weren't. We're all getting programmed. The question is like, are you the one who's in the driver's seat of the programming, or are you just a passenger that's getting programmed by all this pointless, low frequency, low vibrational shit that you're exposing yourself to?
That's the reoccurring message I've been hearing. Environment and intention.
Environment influences outcome.
All right. I love that. What specialized knowledge or skills has been crucial to your success? Like what specialized, because you had a dark past, right? Mm-hmm. There was probably some specialized knowledge or skills you developed there that transferred in business too, if you don't mind sharing.
No, I don't. There's so many. And I just think the better answer to this question is to help people understand how important it is to become as skilled as possible at whatever you do. Now, when you talk to the average person about this, the average person is currently working a job that is not their dream job, right? That's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Very few people can say they have their dream job. So they have this mentality that they're not going to try very hard because this is not my dream job. Once I find my passion, then I'll start trying. And that's not the way it works. Because passion isn't something you find, it's something you create. This is coming from somebody.
It's something you create.
Correct. Yeah. And you create it through purpose-driven action or intentional action. That's just a different way of saying it. I did not like my business. Like disdained is probably a more accurate way to describe my feelings toward my business during the first 4 to 6 years, I would say. Let's call it 5 years, right in the middle. I didn't like it. I didn't see it for what it is now. I was like, I don't know how to cook. I don't have a culinary background. My purpose in life, I thought, was to like to help people, to elevate people, to show people how they can transform their mindset, like the way that I did. Like that's what I want to do. And I was like, I'd sell food. This is whatever. And I had a life-altering year in 2015, character building year, just changed my perspective on a lot of things. And then I started just changing my perspective towards my business. Like, I want to lift people up. I want to make people better. I want to help people. I want to show people the path of, how to go from where they are to where they aspire to be. Well, I need to start with my own team. Why don't I start with my own team? The people that work with me every day. Because by doing that, I have immediate access. I can do this thing that I've been saying that I want to do. I can do it immediately. I can do it day one, and it's going to benefit me across the board. And I get basically front row seats to watching like the personal growth and ascension of people. Like I get to watch them as they grow and evolve and know that I played a role in influencing that outcome. And, the mental gratification one gets from that is crazy. But that's when I started to develop passion towards it. Our company is that we don't sell food. We change lives. We're a lifestyle transformation company. People in the industry have labeled it healthy meal delivery service. And yes, that is the nature of our business, but the product we sell is not the food, it's the results. And we're the best in the States to do it by a landslide for many, many reasons. I could talk about the quality, I could talk about the service, I could talk about the content, I could talk about the brand, but really what makes us great is the culture, because the culture is what allows all those things to happen. And the culture is also what allows us to get our clients the results that we do. And I think ultimately that's really the largest thing to hang one's hat on, is determining whether or not we are the best, is how many of our clients are getting results and the kind of results that they're getting versus the other companies. And they're not. I'm not discrediting other companies. I just know that they're not moving like we are. Like we put everything we do is with intention. Everything we do is to be the best, because I realize that if our food quality isn't the best, if our service isn't the best, if our content isn't the best, if the coaching aspect isn't the best, then the people that come to us and give us the opportunity to be part of their journey are not going to stick around long enough to facilitate the results they came to us for in the first place. So
no, that's amazing. You spoke about 2015.
So let me wrap that part up. So look, whatever you're doing right now, aim to be the best at it, not because you love what you're doing, but because your last name is attached to it. That's the thing about taking responsibility and taking ownership and realizing that everything in your life is your fault. Everything in your life is your responsibility. If your name is attached to something, that means something. Take pride in it. It's an extension of you. It's an extension of your honor. And look, it's going to instill qualities in you now that will allow you to arrive at whatever your passion is a hell of a lot sooner than you going through this right now. You know, they say the average millennial and Gen Zer spends about 1.3 years in a job before hopping to the next, right? They job hop, and a lot of times what ends up happening is they feel like they're not growing. And like, you're not growing because you're not doing a fucking thing to create that outcome. They want to sit back and they think that just showing up 9 to 5, doing just doing just enough to not get in trouble, right? That's like some extraordinary feat or accomplishment. Like, your salary is what you agreed upon day one. And I believe your salary and how much you get paid is a direct indicator. It's like a report card of how much value you bring. So in order to get paid more, in order to grow and be, rewarded and recognized and presented with additional opportunity, you have to do more than what you're paid for. The average person has a very difficult time wrapping their mind around that concept. Honestly, if you post this, you'll see people are going to have why would I do more? No, when they pay me more, that's when I'll do more. Look, I'm just going to speak for myself, business owner. I've employed, maybe over 1,000 people in the 13 years we've been in business. I can also speak for all of my friends that are CEOs. There hasn't been a single time where any of us paid some average or low performer more money and had an agreement. Okay, you're average or not really a good performer. In fact, you're pretty much the bottom of the pack, but we're going to pay you more money, and then we want you to do more. We want you to become a high performer. Here you go. And then all of a sudden they just started crushing it. That's not the way that it works, man. You have to show your superiors. You have to show your coworkers. You have to earn the trust and confidence of these people, as well as show the universe that you're worthy of that next level. So
you said something very unique, though. I want to grab this one for all the entrepreneurs about, you said in 2015, you had a character building year. I love that. So, and you started focusing on your team. Now, what did you start doing with your team? What was the actual things that you started doing with your team that started paying and giving you that fulfillment that you wanted and started paying dividends and giving more results in the business?
That's a great question. Immediately, I started to do all the things that I was doing for myself to advance my position, and it helped me evolve and was helping me grow. I started to pay them to work out. So at Nutrition Solutions, we have 2 workouts per week, where first thing in the morning, and it's a hard workout. It's not, coming in and walking on a treadmill. It is by design intense. It is high intensity, and it's designed to build character and build discipline, push them way out of their.
You started paying them to work out.
Yeah. When I was in the military, every day for 5 years, we started the day with a workout. The military essentially paid us to work out. You'd show up, you'd check in, and then you'd have like an hour and some change to go work out. And there's a reason for that. They understand that a fitter team member, is going to be a more energized team member. They're going to be more capable and competent team. They're going to be in a better mood. The same applies with any other business. Plus, we're not just any other business. Okay, we're in the business of helping people create lifestyle transformations. So like,
Chris,
what's that?
I'm losing my mind right now.
Yeah.
Do you know why?
Why?
The client I was training when I saw you in the gym, and the client I was like, pushed me to have you on the podcast. Like, no, you should talk to him about it. Is the client that told me he wants to pay his painters to work out with me.
Interesting.
3 years ago. What are the odds that was the same move you made to excel your company?
I mean, look, there's something to it, right? Because from my perspective, okay, I'm the CEO of a lifestyle transformation company, and my team was a bunch of fat, ordinary, incapable humans. That wouldn't be a very inspiring sight for our clients. Knowing that our team is fit on the path, or look, not everybody's fit, right? Some are walking the same path and on the same journey as our clients, but they're going through it. So it gives our clients the peace of mind that the people that are preparing the meals, the people that do the customer service, the people that handle the logistics, pack the orders and responsible for transit and such, that they're leading by example, which is also a core value of ours. So like, I take it very seriously, and it's not just so what other people think. That's one of the reasons I want our company to be revered and looked at as the best. I said, Louis Vuitton meal prep, not just a name we arbitrarily gave ourselves, because of all these unique qualities and features that we possess that most people don't. But the reality of it is, working out first thing in the morning is a life hack. It sets the tone for the day. It gives you the opportunity to elevate your frequency.
Yeah.
Okay. You take this intentional action by getting a hard workout out, you elevate your frequency. Now, guess what? You're now operating and executing and dominating from that frequency for the rest of the day. You're going to be more energized. Your brain is going to be sharper. You're going to have more endorphins going. So you're going to not only be sharper and more cognitively enhanced, but you'll be in a better mood, right? You're going to be able to produce better results when you are in that state of mind. You're not craving Burger King, right? You're not wanting to go to the drive. You're not wanting to put shit in your body. You want to eat a clean, nutritious meal to elongate that state of being that you're in, to keep your frequency engaged and optimal so you can crush the day, crush the week, and then ultimately at the end of it all, look back and say that you crushed life.
Yeah. So you started paying them to work out.
Yeah.
And then what was the next
personal development? They do personal development during the workday. So there's a couple different opportunities for it. First thing in the morning, there's a morning meeting. And before any business is conducted, 90 seconds of gratitude is observed in noble silence. Everybody will spend 90 seconds just reflecting on what and who that they have to be grateful for, being appreciative for the things that they have.
On their own or as a team?
As a team. As a team, lined up in military ranks. Yep. And from there, we'll share wins, whether a client testimonial, a review, a client transformation, acknowledging a team member who had a standout performance. We want to put winning on a pedestal because we're trying to really, continue to instill a culture of winning in our ethos and have that really become part of everybody's moral fabric and something that they're always seeking out to do. So every day we're start with gratitude, head to the win, then go over whatever business needs to be discussed for the day, end it with citing the mission statement, our company mission statement together. And the first hour of the day is an audiobook is played on the speakers system of there's obviously different workspaces that all of them are wired with speakers, and they play an audiobook or podcast that's on the company's authorized audiobook and podcast reading list. So yeah, want to start the day off putting good information in their mind, and hopefully it gets them hooked, because I believe personal development is the best drug, man. And just the last point I'll make about this is those two things have a lot in common, because personal development is to the mind what working out is to the body.
Yes. So, man, this is very incredible. Like, what would you say to that CEO out there right now that the company is kind of feels like the way the first 5 years felt for you, right? And they're like, how do I implement this for my team? Where do I even start? Maybe they're not even doing that for themselves, but they've achieved some kind of success.
Yeah. So
what would you say?
I mean, it would largely come down to whether or not they were living that lifestyle themselves, because if you live that lifestyle yourself, like, you understand how much better life is. Look, the fitter you are, the more capable and confident you become. The fitter you are, the more disciplined you are. Discipline and confidence are, I believe, the two most important qualities that influence success, right? And as you get fitter and you get more disciplined and you get more confident, you're not just more fit and confident in the gym. You're fitter, confident, and more disciplined in life. And now you can deploy that confidence and that discipline towards any other area of life or goal that you're looking to conquer. So if you're a CEO and you want to get the most out of your team. Well, obviously it starts by you setting an example. Like if you're, walking around, and using the fact that you work 80 hours as an excuse to be fat, like then you can't really expect your team to push for much more. I'm sure some will organically, but if you really want to do right by your team, you set an example that like you would be proud for them to follow. It's as simple as that. And it starts there. And if you're somebody who's already on it and you want to incorporate this or like are trying to mathematically make sense of how this would benefit the business, understand that a fitter team member is a more energized team member. They're a more productive team member. They're in a better mood, okay? They're gonna take less sick days, okay? They're going to be more disciplined. They're gonna have all these good qualities that directly correlate to business, because at the end of the day, how you do one thing is how you do all things. And fitness, physical fitness also gives you what? Gives you more energy. So do you think somebody who doesn't work out, who's sedentary, who eats like shit, who's just like, do you think that's going to be the most energetic, productive, vibrant employee on your team? Or do you think the guy who's in the gym, eating well, eating clean, like living the life is? And unfortunately, in the West, there's an epidemic of, biblical proportion with obesity. So most people are fat. Let's just like keep it real. 3/4 of all population are fat. Okay. That's a statistic, not my personal opinion. If people have issue with the word fat, like, I mean, it's in the dictionary. Like it's in the dictionary.
Yeah.
So, and that's what it is. And like, if you want the best for your team, which I believe any leader should, you should have incentives in place. Now, would it directly make sense from a very corporate atmosphere? Like we're kind of in the industry of fitness, and so it's a little bit of a different thing. But whatever any business can do to facilitate some type of activity that brings the team closer together to build morale, you want to do that. And from my experience, and I have a lot, whether it was from the military or sports or in my business, doing really difficult things with the people that you work with, when you go through really difficult things together, it just has a very funny, strange way of just bringing that group of people closer together. And maybe you're not like best friends or whatever, but you just develop a healthy respect and just a sense of camaraderie and appreciation to where this person has your back. They know that you have theirs. And that's just a beautiful dynamic to have in the workplace, because if you have some problem going on and, stress is higher than normal, like you want to be around a team who is able to do hard things and has done hard things together. Doing hard things is what you all do. And like where you go as a business, where you go as a team, where you go as a company, like are going to be directly in proportion to your willingness to endure hard things for extended periods of time.
Man, I'm happy you touching on this topic. And I think this is something you guys do in-house and you show it on your social media, but I think it's very important for other CEOs out there that are like, okay, we're kind of stuck right now. What is something we can do to shake up the ecosystem, right? And creating that environment for success. Okay, I got a few more questions. Okay,
well, with that though, honestly, short answer on that, if you want your team to get better, you need to make your team better. It's as simple as that. I believe a leader has two primary responsibilities, two. Yeah. There's a lot of subsidiaries of these two things, but it really comes down to these two things. The first one is make your team better. You gotta make your team better. It's as simple as that. The second one is to win, period. Those are your only two responsibilities. So sitting back, not putting any effort, not having any incentives in place, not allocating time towards training and developing your team, that's a huge missed opportunity. If you actually care about your team and you actually want to make them better, then you have to ask yourself, what am I doing as the leader of this company? If you're the CEO, if you're in a position of leadership, you're responsible for all of the people underneath you, and you have a responsibility to make those people better. And I think that's what really kind of ultimately makes the difference and separates leaders from managers, right? A lot of managers, they don't really give a shit. They come in, do this, that, whatever. Why isn't he doing this? Why isn't he able to get? It's like a leader understands his responsibility and his role, which is to make his team better and to make his team win. And you just have to look at how, and really what it would start with the most elementary level is having dedicated time towards training, because most companies don't train. They expect their team just to get better as time goes by. And that does happen to a certain degree. But like we talked about with the old typing,
yeah.
if there's not intention, like like think about Kobe, think about Michael, think about LeBron, think about Tom Brady. Like these guys weren't just showing up on Sundays or to game day. And that was like the only basketball or football they're playing. They practice for hours. They're reviewing tape. They're analyzing. They're not just mistakes. They're analyzing what they did right and trying to find ways. Like, how can I do that went good, but how can I execute it so it goes a little better?
Yeah.
Like getting better doesn't just happen. You have to make it happen.
You gotta make it fucking happen, man. Let's go. How do you handle fear of making the wrong decisions? I struggle with this one, so this is a personal question for me.
Can you give me an example?
A fear of making the wrong decisions, like
because I want to give you an answer that's going to help you. Okay, not to say I don't, which would be my answer.
All right, good.
But at the beginning, of course, I did. Again, I've been at this a while.
Yeah.
So you start to realize, oh, okay. So when I procrastinate because I decide that this decision, I don't want to, like, it just makes everything a hell of a lot worse and more difficult from when I finally am forced to make a decision. Now I'm rushing to make the decision, which radically increases the probability that I'm not going to make the correct one. So that sucks.
So you just make it.
When you're experienced and you're competent and you have the like working knowledge of what happens in similar situations or what happens, you're able to use that data, kind of analyze quickly and realize, all right, what are the risks? What are the benefits? And if you do a quick risk versus benefit analysis, a lot of times you'll find out that like the biggest risk is waiting and not making the decision. So if that's the case, you make a decision. And if you make the wrong one, who cares? You pick up the pieces, like, good, I made a wrong decision. Now I know that's not it. And guess what? The next one, maybe that won't be it either, but you'll be that much closer to whatever decision is. So like, you just got to do it and understand that you're not like an oracle. You're not going to always know what the right decision is if it's something you've never done before.
Yeah.
But you have the confidence in yourself to know that whatever happens, that you're going to own it. You're going to learn from it. You're going to use that experience to get better.
Responsible.
That's it.
Yes, I love that. That's the line I'm going to steal for sure. Do you have a group of like advisors, peers that you rely on or collaborate with that supports you right now, like a mentor or anything like that?
I wouldn't say really a mentor, but I have some very, successful, like high performance, highly driven, men. That's like my peer group, right? Like, so yeah, the conversation's different. The conversation's different than when you're sitting at a table with a bunch of average people who play video games and smoke weed all day.
Yeah.
So, that is very valuable. I mean, I think men, especially men who, want to perform at optimal levels, you got to be around other killers. And a lot of people like, will think to themselves, look around and like, fuck, like none of my friends are like that. And I hear you. And if you want to change that, like you have to understand that first step to beginning to attract like-minded, driven conquerors is to distance yourself from the people you're currently around, because high performance people do not want to hang around with average motherfuckers. And oftentimes average motherfuckers don't want to be around high performance people because it makes them uncomfortable. Yeah. So like you have to like recognize that being around other people who are on the same journey as you and the conversation, like me and my friends, like at any given time, like, there's only a few different things that we talk about. We talk about business, we talk about money, we talk about watches, right? We talk about leadership, we talk about like ideas. We have conversations about all these things. And, we talk about money, not in the sense of how much we have, but we talk about it as like, oh, hey, what have you invested in lately? What are you looking at? Because money is too important of a thing in life for people to go their entire lives being so uncomfortable avoiding talking about. Like you have to think about and put energy into and speak about whatever it is that you want to grow. And if you want to have more money, you have to be more comfortable speaking about it and putting energy into it. And that's the easiest way to do it.
Wow.
Is to with other people who are, because you can't, that's the other thing. Like a lot of people are uncomfortable speaking about it because, maybe they're hanging out with some broke fucker who will get oh, I can't. Oh, you don't need to be around people like that. Like that person, the people in your life are factually either making your life better or making your life worse. Okay. And to add to that, you only have a certain amount of say a sports team has 12 roster, you get 12 people on the roster, right? On the active roster. Like you only have so many roster spots for relationships in your life. So if we're thinking in terms of sports, wouldn't it make sense to fill those roster spots up with people who put you in the best possible position to win?
Yeah.
It would. So, there's a lot of power in that. There's a lot of power in that transference of masculine energy. Just being around guys who, you don't even necessarily have to like push them, but like just the presence. And like, you guys are having interactions, we all know what we talk about all the time. So like, I guess in the back of your mind, you don't want to be the one to kind of, show up to the next time you get a workout in together or dinner and, not have a cool story of progress to report.
Yeah.
So it's not like a formal, like official thing, like you're probably speaking of, but at the beginning, I had more formal things like that. But the reality of it is you don't need, if you're at the beginning of your journey, start by separating yourself from the losers, stop following people that offer no value on social media, and start following people strategically with intention on social media that put out a powerful message that can teach you things that will allow you to advance your current position. Because you can get that same level of influence and the same level of impact by following people with intention on social than you can actually sitting at the table. And you can actually do it more, but you have to be intentional about it. Whatever you give your energy to is going to influence how you think, how you act, and ultimately who you become. So govern your attention accordingly.
Govern your attention accordingly. I love that. So with you're a very sharp guy. You have high energy, like seeing you got so much energy, you're sharp. What daily habits, you talked about your cold plunge. Tell us more about things that are keeping you sharp, mentally sharp, staying innovative, focused towards your goals and your vision, 250 million in well, tell us, what do you do?
There's a lot of things that I do, but just the basics that anybody can relate to is you got to exercise every day, like some form of exercise. I've found in life, it's easier to do something every day than it is, 3 or 4 times a week. Consistency is key, building it in, having it just be part of your moral fabric. It's not something that you have to really like drag yourself to do. You just do it at this time. This is what I do. This is what I do every single day. It's a non-negotiable. So I get exercise. Often I do 2 workouts a day. My first workout is normally cardio or some type of like calisthenics. Maybe I'll do a couple hundred push-ups, 50 burpees. Then I'll get in the cold plunge. This is after I do red light therapy. So start my day with red light therapy. Again, I don't even want to say these advanced things. People don't need this stuff yet. I'm in a unique position where I'm educated and I have the financial resources, but I start every day with movement. Jump in the cold plunge. I want to get uncomfortable, want to set the tone for the day. And then I do like a proper workout, like high intensity training later in the day. I read every day. Every day I read. I prefer reading books, but I also will delve into audiobooks. And I believe reading actual books is important because we have a lot of different things that are working against us largely for, we have a lot of things that are kind of whittling away at our ability to focus, our attention spans. So anything we can do to kind of like counteract that process, I think is important. Plus, when you read the speaking the words, and I think there's an element of power to that. That's on a higher level of, energetic frequency than just, hearing it. But the point of that is I'm putting good information in my mind. I'm putting good information in my mind every single day. I get out in the sun as much as possible. I love the sun. I love being outdoors. So I want to be active. I want to be moving as much as possible. And, doing that just keeps me in a high frequency, energized state. I think movement is medicine, and I want to just get the most out of every day. I want to know at the end of the day that when I lay my head down on the pillow that I have in fact earned that night of sleep. And, that's really the most, I think, compelling parts of the day. There's a lot of other things, but it would just be too advanced for the normal person. But making sure that you're not only getting some form of exercise in every day, but you're being intentional about when you do it. Look, there likely will not be a difference between workouts in the morning and workouts in the evening as far as the results that will get you from a physique and aesthetics standpoint. But if you have the ability or you have the option, morning workouts are a life hack that will literally change every measurable metric of your life in ways that you cannot even possibly fathom from this current level of consciousness. Like getting up early and going and doing something hard and getting your workout in, you're basically setting the tone, priming yourself, putting yourself in a peak physical state so you can then attack the day from that place and putting good information in your mind first thing in the morning. The reason I like to do it first thing in the morning, get my brain sharp, get my brain going. And also if I learn anything like, provocative or something that I want to really deploy and apply to my life, I now have the rest of the day to get in those repetitions because you have to act, right? You can't just read something, oh, that's a good idea, and then not do it. The payoff is on the other end of the execution. So I like to move early and often. I like to put good information in my mind. But I'm gonna get a little tactical. I'll give a couple little things here that I do that I think will be very beneficial to people. And again, these aren't things that I thought of originally because these are just things that I do without. It's set. It's a system, and it's done. I have a screen time set for what time my phone goes off in the evening. So after a certain time, I'm not looking at my phone anymore. I also have a screen app limit for social media. I allow myself 1 hour a day on social media. And that's coming from somebody who's a creator, right? I know I don't post. The 90% of my posts, I have a team that does that. So that obviously helps not having to spend time on there, but I'm doing stories and stuff like that, looking at DMs, going through the feed a bit. But I'm strategic in the way that I do that. I'm intentional in the way that I do that. And when the thing comes up that tells me that's it for the day, if it does come up, that's it. I'm not spending any more time on social media. It would be shocking for some of you who are hearing this to know how much time you're wasting on social media. You're doom scrolling. It's draining your energy. You're distracting yourself. You're basically disallowing any insights, any fantastic ideas to just come to you, because if your brain is constantly stimulated with shit that doesn't even matter, by the way, and is actually lowering your frequency as opposed to raising it. Like you put your mind in a state where you never have the ability to receive, and you ultimately get to a point where nothing that you think, none of your own thoughts are actually your own. It's always influenced by something else because you don't think for yourself. You don't build in time to actually do that. I don't have my ringer on ever. Now, this is not something everybody could do. I realize this. For a long time, I couldn't do it. I never have my ringer on my phone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. My ringer's not on, nor is it on vibrate. So what that loosely translates to is I use my phone when I want to use my phone. I'm not going to be disrupted, distracted, or have my attention hijacked by a ding, an email, somebody calling me that I don't necessarily want to speak to. Now, if I see the phone light up, if it happens to be like turned to where I can see it and it's something I want to look at, great. But usually I don't. Usually I don't look at my phone. I don't respond to other people's requests for my time. I control my time. I'm very disciplined with my time. Managing your time, that's a huge element in success. So ensuring that I'm not constantly having my attention hijacked keeps me on track. I have a dedicated plan every day. I go into the day with a plan. Now I have routines, obviously, that certain days of the week, I have certain meetings, reoccurring stuff that I do that are built into the calendar that go without saying. But I also go into every day. It's like, all right, I want to make sure I hit, 3 to 4 critical tasks that will, once complete, allow me to move a little closer towards my bigger goal. And I dedicate a certain amount of time and a time block of the day to do it. And then I do it. I just try to be as organized as possible with my life, because I found that I'm just in a better state and I'm more capable when things are organized and I'm in control. Being disorganized is and so many people are, and they don't even realize it. Like, it will slow you down to a degree that you cannot probably even comprehend. So I just try to be as organized and disciplined as possible, man. Yeah. To sum it up.
And then you do your journal at nighttime.
I don't journal. You mean writing the goals?
You write the
I do
goals.
that in the morning.
You do that in the morning? Awesome, man. Those were some.
That's a quick thing that takes a few minutes, and that's when I'm writing my targets for the day. I write it in the same place that I write my targets.
First thing in the morning
for that day. For after I work out and read.
Okay, that's awesome. Now, what role, if it has fate played in this? Like, you talk about frequency. You talk about what do you do when it comes to that fate sector of things?
I think, if you're very serious about anything and you're dedicated to it, you're willing to sacrifice to make it happen. Then of course do the necessary work to facilitate that result. And it's something that you really believe in and something that, you think about often, that you visualize often. I don't really believe that you have to actually know all the answers and know exactly the path that has to be taken to get there. In my experience, anytime I've ever really wanted something and was willing to do all those things that I just mentioned, all those uncertainties, all those variables, all those steps that I didn't, really know how it was going to go or what I needed to do, the universe has a very interesting way of just clearing those obstacles for you. But that is only going to happen when and if you prove to the universe that like you deserve it to help you out. The universe will help you get wherever it is that you want to be, provided you have strong enough conviction and clarity on where that is. Most people don't go anywhere because they have no destination in mind, or just general, like, yeah, I want to be fitter, or I want to have more money, whatever, but they don't have a benchmark or a deadline or a plan or strategy to actually make it happen. So they haphazardly go into every day, no strategy, and just kind of go from one low value activity to the next. And they are tired, they're burnt out, they're certainly stressed. Of course, losing all the time sucks. You're going to feel stressed if you're like on the hamster wheel. You're going to feel tired if you sprint on a treadmill for a long time. You'll feel exhausted, but that doesn't change the fact that you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So you have to have strategy, and you have to be intentional about where you're going and have a destination in mind. And you don't have to know exactly the exact steps and the way to make it happen, but you do have to be very clear about that destination. And I think
Got to be clear.
you have to have that clarity. And I think,
how does one get clear? Because for you transitioned from that life into this business,
Yeah.
right? How did you even be like, all right, this is where I'm going to put my energy towards?
yeah, that's an evolving destination. But I knew from a very young age that I needed to be rich. From a very young age, I had some experience, some, trauma, as they call it, blessings, as I describe it, that really helped me understand that, I absolutely need to not be in this position ever again. Now, that's all I knew at the time, but that was a certainty. I needed to have a lot of money just to avoid this pain that I was experiencing, whether it was, times I had to steal dirty clothes out of the Lost and Bound at middle school just so I had new clothes to wear, so I wasn't getting made fun of by kids on the bus. That was a pivotal moment in my life. I was getting made fun of by some of the older kids on the bus because I was wearing dirty sweatpants to school, and I guess I was wearing the same dirty sweatpants, and they pointed that out and laughing. It was a big thing, and that hurt. Obviously, that sucked, and that's what compelled me to start stealing clothes out of the Lost and Found, dirty clothes out of the Lost and Found at school. But man, I wish I could somehow be reconnected with these individuals and shake their hand, because that really
Shake their hands.
helps. Oh, of course. That helped put that idea in my mind from a very young age. Now, obviously, the foundation of it has evolved, and I went from the paradigm of scarcity to the paradigm of abundance, but it was a non-negotiable. I knew I had to make a lot of money, man. I knew I had to make a lot of money. And as I went through life, I started to think, well, I have to make a lot of money. Okay, so how do I fucking make that happen? Well, worked in a strip club for a while, was making some cash. That wasn't enough. Started making, money, selling drugs. That was great as far as the money is concerned. But I didn't account for the fact that I was stressed. I was anxious. I wasn't proud. I was living a lie. That's extremely stressful when your whole life is a fucking lie, basically, knowing you're being watched by the authorities. So okay, so I got to get a little more clear. So not only do I need to make a lot of money, I also have to add certain,
get more clear.
Yeah. I want to be proud. I want people to respect me. I want to elevate others. And then, you get clear on those things, and you start taking actions to move towards those. And it evolves, because, what I'm doing today is not what I was doing 10 years ago or 5 years ago. It evolves, it improves. But the mission stays the same. Same mission, just sometimes you just set higher targets and you go about it a slightly different approach.
All right. I love that, man.
But under no set of circumstances ever, this is really important. Do you ever compromise your standards or lower your standards for the comfort of other people? That's a big one. And, there will be times where you're tested, and there'll be times where even like on the surface, it would make sense to do it. But you don't ever want to do that, because that's the quickest way to tell the universe that you ain't actually serious about your goals.
That's big. That is big. I've loved this. But before we let you go, what is a common mistake? And this is a very broad question that you see most entrepreneurs that are trying to break to that next level, get to that first million or multiple millions. What is a common mistake you see they're making in business that they're not aware of?
This belief that they're not supposed to have problems, that there's not supposed to be chaos, this fallacy that the journey to the top is going to be this like straight shot up. Like, it's extremely difficult to build. It's extremely difficult to have a business. It's even more difficult to build a business. Business is hard. The idea that you're not going to have to go through long periods of time where you hate the things that you have to do as an entrepreneur is a joke. Now, there are exceptions, of course, but if you're building a company and you have a team, and you know, depending how big that company is or how many people on that team, that in and of itself is something most people aren't prepared for, because you're dealing with not only your problems in your life as a leader, you now have all of these people whose problems that are indirectly become your problems, and it's stressful. So that's why I would say, like, you know, doing things that are difficult and just kind of acclimating yourself to stress is, I mean, I think the most honest indicator of whether or not somebody will be successful is stress tolerance. You know, like the further you go, or the more you evolve, the more you grow, and it's all going to be stressful, because with more responsibility, which basically is what happens when you grow, you accept that part of that equation is more responsibility. More responsibility equals more stress. So, I mean, most people unfortunately shut down. When things get really difficult, they shut down, they panic, they don't know what to do, right? They get really off kilter, and that's, you know, not an optimal state of mind to be in as a leader in business. You know, so you have to be able to thrive in those scenarios and teach your people how to do the same, because ultimately they're going to be looking at you. Ultimately, it is all on you. So realizing that it's going to be hard, expecting things not to go the way that you planned, realizing that bad things are going to happen when you least expect it. And when it happens, I'm not trying to paint this negative picture. I'm trying to paint a positive picture.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times the problems that entrepreneurs have and the struggles that they face, they feel like it's uniquely their own. Like nobody else has ever dealt with it before. And like they're the only ones who have it hard. It's hard for everybody. Some of us have just been doing this long enough to where you realize, oh, it's fine, normal. Oh, somebody stole $100,000. Who cares? But my fault. Should have had different systems in place to prevent that from happening in the first place. And I'm like giving real examples of things that have happened to me, right? Like, now, you're not going to, let me make it very clear. The first time it happens, you will not respond that way. It will feel very destructive, and you will be probably inclined to have resentment and blame and all that shit. And you can do that. You can do that. That's what most people do. But that's ultimately a decision that you have to make, and one of the things that differentiate winners from losers. Wow. Because everything that happens to you as an entrepreneur is your fault. The good, the bad, everything that falls in between. You ignored the red flags. You didn't do proper due diligence. Like you missed something, okay? Yes. Or you just simply failed to assess this individual's character. And if you do not take responsibility, unfortunately, you forfeit your ability to grow from that crisis, from that adversity. Adversity is such a beautiful thing. It's a gift. But you basically punt the positive byproduct of adversity if you do not take responsibility. You take responsibility, and then you go out, fix it, and you use it to get better. And the more of that you go through, like, I mean, it just builds resilience. It gives you that much more confidence when you go into those situations. Like, all right, we're doing something new. We've never done this before. We're going to take this thing to the next level. I don't really know how this is going to go, but worst case, something happens. Like, I'm comfortable. If everything gets out of control and everything's, I'm comfortable in those situations because I've been there before. I'm going to know what to do. I'm going to know how to handle myself. And I have the confidence in myself and the belief in myself that whatever happens, I know that I'm going to figure it out. And that's where you ultimately want to be. But you got to go through a lot of hard things in order to get to that point. Now, make sure you're not making the same mistake twice. If you have some of the same problems reoccurring, okay, this what I'm talking about here does not apply to that. There's obviously something that you got to look at. Like there shouldn't be like a scenario that continues to manifest itself. If it does, that is evidence of something else. That's a symptom of something else. So you gotta dig in. But the bottom line is I think the biggest mistake a lot of entrepreneurs have is thinking that like after a certain amount of time, it's just no longer going to be hard or it's not going to be stressful. It is always going to be stressful and always going to be hard if you are somebody who is driven and wants to continue to grow. And that should be all of you who are listening, because nobody started a business to like reach a certain place and just be stagnant forever. That's how you get burnt out. That's how you lose oh, this, I don't really know. That's how you just get to a point where you're not really super fired up about your business and about your team. Mm-hmm. The key to like unlimited motivation is continuous progress. Progress is motivating. And this can apply to business, it can apply in the gym. When you're fat and you show up to the gym, you're 300 pounds and you work out, you're uncomfortable, you don't know what the fuck you're doing, you're self-conscious, you think everybody's looking at you. And look, some are, whatever, don't use it as an excuse. But then you work out, you're exhausted in 5 minutes. Like, it's a very humbling experience. It's uncomfortable. Like, it sucks in the beginning, but you got to go through it. You keep showing up. Keep showing up. Yeah. And then it sucks a little less. Then it sucks a little less. Then you start peeling the weight off. Then you start notice the changes. You get a little, holy shit, like, fuck yeah. And now you can exercise a little longer. And all of that, it's still hard, but now you're motivated. Now you actually see the positive consequences of you showing up when you don't want to and putting in the effort even when it's difficult. Yeah. Same concept applies to business and life. Like endless motivation. It's out there. Everybody's looking motivation, looking for an Instagram page or a video or whatever. Mm-hmm. That ain't what it is, man. It's not. It's going through a process, being just brutally consistent with that process, and then realizing that the process that you're following is actually working. That's how you feel fired up, man. That's how you feel fired up to like keep going. Because look, it's very motivating for me when I'm training and I'm shirtless and people are taking videos and I see how good I look on camera. Mm-hmm. It's very motivating when I see myself in the mirror when I'm training. Like, you ain't gonna have that in the beginning. But if you keep showing up, if you're willing to do it bad until you do it good, like, you will ultimately have it. Because motivation it's a combination of knowing what it is that you want and why you want it, and then putting yourself through that process and getting that validation that the process works. And the only way you get that validation, doesn't matter how many people say it, doesn't matter how many books you read, doesn't matter that video that you watched on YouTube. The only way that you, as a unique being, the only way that your brain is going to have that validation is through experience. Otherwise, everybody would be fit and in shape and make a ton of money. Mm-hmm. But you have to go through that process of unfamiliarity, and it's scary. The first step, it's terrifying. But I would argue not changing a thing and being exactly where you are in 10 years, 15 years from now, I would argue that's a hell of a lot more scary than the beginning of any journey.
Yeah. Okay, I got two last questions for you. Okay, the first one is, what are you looking forward to this year?
This year?
Yeah. What are you looking forward to?
What am I most looking forward to this year? Honestly, we just built our new company headquarters at Nutrition Solutions. I was saying I'm looking forward to like accomplishing the goals that we set. We set some pretty aggressive goals. I'm not looking forward to it. That's a non-negotiable. It's going to happen. That's what's expected to happen. Nobody's like, oh, good job. Like, this, like, I'm expected to do well. I'm expected to win. I'm expected to accomplish the goals that I set. So I'm really looking forward to our team to be able to transcend our culture to new heights in this new headquarters we built. State of the art. It's about 6 times the size of the one we were previously operating out of. Sick, modern gym. Just the whole place is just built out for peak inspiration. And having our team operate there is going to allow us to perform at a much higher level. It's going to allow us to help more people change their life. So we get that, the mental and personal fulfillment from that, but also being able to just take the culture to the next level as far as developing the team, training the team, helping them become, better, stronger, more capable, and allowing them to represent us and represent me proudly out in the world as someone who, dons the logo of Nutrition Solutions. It means a lot to me to have people that come into our company and, they're at one place, and then through the process, through the system, they become something more. Now they're, better able to provide and take care of their family. They're better able to set an example for people in their community or their friends. And, that's what this is about for me. Nutrition Solutions is about legacy. And, one of our core values is help people. And a lot of people, when they hear that, they think, we're helping our clients. And that's true. But the way that we can do that most effectively is by actually helping the people that are on the team. So, yeah, I would just say that seeing our culture and our company transcend to new heights with the team to set us up for what's going to be a wild 2026.
Let's go. I love that. And then the last question I have for you, if you could give one advice to someone out there that is like, I'm about to start this business, or I'm in this business, we're a couple years in, things are a little bit rocky. What is that advice you're going to give them right now?
Matt, be willing to do hard things. Understand it's going to suck. It's going to suck for a while, but it only sucks if you suck. So if you're good and if you're actually making the effort to get better, which you should on an ongoing basis, then understand it is going to suck less. We ordinarily go through things and we say, this sucks, or it's hard, I got to do this, whatever. We tend to dislike things that we're not good at. So you have to understand that whatever you're going through is a byproduct of incompetence and a lack of experience. Now, I'm not saying you're incompetent as an insult. I'm saying you're incompetent as a matter of fact. So as a man, especially, your position in life is going to ultimately come down to how competent you are or are not. So by making it an intentional decision to become brutally competent in whatever it is that is part of your world, it's like the express pass to success. It is going to speed things up. It is going to minimize resistance, and you're going to find yourself going through situations a lot more smooth than when you're just kind of winging it, not putting in any type of direct intentional effort or behaviors to get better. You should always be trying to get better. That needs to be a built-in pillar of your life if you want to excel. I don't want to tell people what to do, but I'm thinking the people that are listening to this are people who want to excel.
Yeah.
You have to understand that excelling at anything, it's not something that happens. You're not born that way. It's not something that you will just ultimately wake up one day and have been doing whatever you're doing long enough to where you're now just great at it. Okay. It happens as a direct positive consequence of hours put in. Mastery is a direct byproduct of training, personal development, practicing. And that doesn't happen in the workplace. That's out of the workplace, right? You're 9 to 5, right? That pays the bills. What you do from 6 to 9, that inevitably determines your legacy. So get skilled, become brutally competent, understand that personal development is not something that's kind of weird stigma, self-help. Sometimes it can be very off-putting to the untrained individual, not understanding what it is. I largely attribute the person I am today to the books that I've read. It allowed me to recalibrate my mindset. It taught me how to think different. And personal development, that's what it is at its core. It's an opportunity to train yourself to think at a higher level so you can inevitably become someone who operates at a higher level. That's what it is. And it's not something you do or something you did. It's something you do. Just like working out, just like, you should be looking at your money every day if money is important to you. Whatever you want to improve at, do it every day. And don't look at it as a chore. Look at it as a responsibility of your life. And, the more you do think about personal development and, reading and podcasts, whatever, is you have to be intentional about it. Don't just turn on the podcast or the book or read the book that you like and that you enjoy. Strategically choose something that you want to improve on, something that you're not currently amazing with. Be strategic in the information that you're putting in your mind. Learn the things that are going to have the most impact and just make it a non-negotiable. And you got to do it for a little while to get to a point where, it's something that you can just do without thinking. You have to get that validation. You have to go through that process and then realize, see how much better your life could be. And then realize, I want me some more of that.
Yes.
Personal development is the best drug. And, you just have to put in the work and put in the time for a short period of time so you're able to get that addiction. It's a good addiction. It's a great addiction. But you have to go through it initially long enough to where you get hooked and you never go back.
Wow. Chris, I just want to thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
taking
man.
the
This is
time
fun.
to drop some gems. We appreciate you. Thank you. Let's go.
Hell yeah.